Alex, to add to the frustrations, it must have been difficult to train on the grass in the last few days.
Yeah, well, obviously the weather's been an issue, but we have got undersoil heating. The pitch has held up reasonably well. It's not perfect, obviously, because you've got a glaze over the top of it, but yeah, I think everybody will be facing the same issues.
When you look to the match against Bristol, they're in a similar position to us in the league. How important is it to get something out of this game?
I think every game's important. I mean, I don't think it matters where they are in the league in comparison to ourselves for this game. I think it's every game that we play, we need to try and add more points to our tally. I think the Championship's shown that irrespective of where you're in the league, everybody can beat everybody. So yeah, that's it's not as sort of crucial because of where they are. It's more just getting points on the board for us. But what it does do, obviously, if we take points off of them, then they stay where they are and we can hopefully move further forward. But every game is vitally important for us.
They had a good result at Rotherham. They'll obviously be looking for back-to-back wins. They've got players like Martin and Weimann who can create and score. How difficult do you see this match and what do you expect from them?
It'll be a tough game. I played against them earlier in the season down there. It was a good game, really open match. We managed to win the game 3-2, but it was a proper game. So yeah, they open the pitch up, they make it big. They'll use the ball well. So we're going to have to make sure that defensively we're sound, but equally we carry a threat. And I think that was the difference in the game the last time I played them at the start of the season, was the fact that we arguably carried a bigger punch than they did.
With all the injuries that you've had and still appear to have, how far away are you from seeing an Alex Neil team that you believe represents you on the pitch?
I'm not quite sure. I've been asked this question countless times, but it's one of them ones where I think every team's going to have injuries. Obviously, I think consistency is the key thing for us, because I think there has been games, whether the results backed it up or not, where I think we've performed very well. I think like Sheffield United, I thought were excellent. Preston, I thought were excellent. And I think there's games like Rotherham at home, I thought Coventry at home, I thought both games were very good. Norwich away, I thought were really strong. So we have shown moments of quality. We have shown good sort of performance, shall we say. But we just need to make sure we try and do it on a consistent basis. And I thought even in the Cardiff game, I've watched that game back a couple of times since, we had some really good moments in that game. But obviously to lose the second goal in the manner which we did was really disappointing.
You don't need me to tell you about the stats, but I'm sure the players' stats are pretty good. But the problem seems to be at the moment, and certainly was against Cardiff, that if you lose the ball in transition their half of the pitch, they manage to get down and score a goal from that. That must be a bit troublesome for you. Yeah,
but well, the fact is, when that happens and we give the ball away, we've got every player behind the ball when that happens. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a structural issue in terms of where we find ourselves in the pitch. We've not overcommitted. It's what we do for losing the ball to then when the ball lands in our box, and we probably had 3 or 4 opportunities to stop the player or the ball going past us, and we don't take care of them. And when that happens, and that happens continuously, it's going to be an issue. So I'm hoping that's obviously going to improve. We spoke about it at length. I thought there was one in the first half which sort of is what you want in those moments. I think we'd just been denied the penalty, and they played through us for the first time. It was the only time in the first half they played through us, because we started to get a bit frustrated and we ran after the ball, and Harry left Callum Robinson in a heap in the middle of the pitch and got a booking. And I'm not asking anybody to go around kicking people, but the problem you've got is when they break on you and you can sense it's a danger, the ball and the man can't get wrong side of you. Do you know what I mean? If the ball goes past you, the man stays there, and vice versa. Do you know what I mean? So, and yeah, I think if we'd done that for the second goal wouldn't have happened.
And it was a fairly slow start from Stoke. You need to start and get out of the blocks quickly against Bristol.
I think we have started games pretty quick. I don't think that's really been an issue for us. But I agree. I think that the goal that they scored seemed to kick us into life. And then I thought for about a 30-minute spell, I thought we were really good. We should have had the penalty. I got a visit from the referees this week as well, just to talk about obviously the relationship between clubs and coaches and players and managers and referees. And to be fair, they were really quite clear that the decision was wrong. So it doesn't help us at the moment, and that's what I told them. But yeah, they've admitted their mistake and the fact that that decision was a wrong one, which I'm pleased with, because you start questioning yourself at that point and thinking, like, I'm not sure I understand the rules if that's not a penalty. So yeah, it was just we just don't hope that they don't get repeated and we get what the fair decision is. And if it's not a penalty, it's not a penalty. But if it is, then obviously we want it to be the right decision.
How are we on the injury front? Have anybody come back into the fold that was out from the last match?
It'll be touch and go.
Is DiMaggio Wright Phillips okay? Cause
he's been ill.
Okay.
So there's obviously a lot of illness going about. I think Bristol had 2 players missed the last game as well. I think De Silva and Zach Viner was missing for them wellness. So yeah, there's been a little sort of bug going about really.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Alex, this is a period where you have a lot of games on top of each other. It's not going to define where you finish, but it's going to have a major mark going into the new year if you can get a run of results, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the next 10 or 12 games are going to dictate what happens for the remainder of the season. And what I mean by that is, if we can put a decent run together in that 10 games, you could hopefully be looking up the table and try to get into the top half or whatever the case may be. If we don't put a good run together, you could find yourself at the bottom end of the table for the remaining games, and that's certainly where you don't want to be.
It's the consistency you're looking for, isn't it, Lee? Because there are times when we've seen it in the games, but then again, the following game, it just hasn't happened, hasn't it? Is that a frustrating thing for you? You know, you've seen it in the team.
Of course it is. But the fact is, though, the difference between an amateur and a professional is amateurs do things and get it right once in a while. Professionals do it often enough that they don't get it wrong that much. Do you understand what I mean? So when you're a professional and you do it properly week in, week out, you do the basics and you do them extremely well. So there might be a lapse from time to time, but it shouldn't be a consistent thing. And at the moment, we need to get an element of consistency to what we're doing. And I'm literally talking. I'm not talking about game to game. I'm talking about sort of minute to minute. If I'm being honest, you know, I think that we have some really good patterns of play. But then the next minute we'll give the ball away and then a reaction maybe isn't as good as what it should be, or do you know what I mean? So just things like that need to improve.
And certainly your away form from time to time has been consistent, hasn't it? So you do go to Bristol with really, I suppose, really some momentum in that case, don't you?
Yeah, I think this break is sort of taking that away, I would suggest. Do you know what I mean? I think we've come back, we've drew the game against Cardiff, which is disappointing because we wanted to win. I thought we did enough to win in the game. I think if we got the decisions which we should have got, I think the game would have been done. And then obviously we've got this game coming up, so yeah, it's going to be an important match for us, but I don't think our form away from home prior to the break is going to have any bearing on what this game will look like.
Thank you.
Just one quick question, which was, you just had, of course, the World Cup break, and you've got Harry Souttar back, started with a strong 11, you've got a very strong bench on Saturday, and of course there wasn't even room for Flint, Fox, Gale and the likes of that. Do you feel now you've got a real breadth of squad to choose from for tomorrow?
Yeah, but some of the lads were out injured or weren't fit for the game. So yeah, I think we're getting people back. What's funny is Andrew's talking about how many injuries and people we've got missing, and you're talking about how strong we are. But I would tend to agree with Ange.